Nagin was an investigative journalist. Her job was to uncover the truth, but her real passion was understanding stories that people had forgotten or wanted to forget. One day, she received an anonymous email in her inbox. Attached to the email was a very old newspaper clipping from 1986. What was written in it was extremely disturbing. According to the clipping, in 1986, on a remote island in Korea, people were locked inside a large complex and forced to participate in real-life torture games. Not only that, the email claimed that high-level authorities were involved and that people who spoke against them were also sent to this island. Nagana found the story fascinating. The email also included the exact coordinates of the place. She decided to go to the island herself to uncover the truth. Nagin reached the remote island alone, using a small boat. However, reaching the complex was not easy, as it was located deep inside a dense forest. As soon as she stepped onto the island, her phone suddenly shut down, even though it was fully charged. Fortunately, she had brought backup flashlights and printed maps. Using those, she began following the coordinates. Nagina knew this investigation would be dangerous, but she didn't expect a violent storm to start the moment she entered the forest. The strong winds made it difficult for her to see anything. Suddenly, she heard cries coming from deep within the jungle. It sounded like someone was being killed. She hurried toward the sound, but after a short while the cries stopped. Now Nagina was standing in the middle of the forest, but she couldn't find the complex anywhere. The winds calmed down. Then she felt as if a thin young girl was staring at her from behind a tree. Susan called out to her, but the girl didn't respond. When Nagina walked toward the tree, there was no one there. She thought it might have been her imagination, but suddenly her head started spinning, and she collapsed unconscious. When Nagina opened her eyes, she found herself lying inside a dark, pitch-black room within the complex. Strange sounds echoed through the building. She opened the door and stepped into a large hall where around 50 to 60 people were present. Their hands and feet were tied. Masked guards stood around them, holding guns and ordering them to run. When Nagina looked closely, she realized they were participating in a race, a lemon race. Each person held a spoon in their mouth with a lemon balanced on it. They had to run without dropping the lemon. Suddenly, one boy dropped his lemon. The guards immediately dragged him away. Nagina's soul trembled in fear. Right before her eyes, the guards began shooting others as well. Susan realized that the torture games were real, and that she herself was now trapped in them. Suddenly, among the runners, Susan saw the same girl she had seen in the forest. The girl was also running. Her lemon fell and rolled to Susan's feet. Before Susan could react, the guards shot the girl. Her body collapsed right at Susan's feet. Tears filled Susan's eyes as she looked at the dead body. But then, the girl's eyes suddenly opened. Her face began to change. Instantly, all the guards and players vanished. The people who had been shot slowly opened their eyes and stood up. Their faces had turned black, and their eyes were completely white. The girl stood up and started walking toward Susan. The others followed her. They looked horrifying. Terrified, Susan ran back into the dark room and locked the door. Loud banging echoed against it. Susan felt she had made a terrible mistake by coming to the island. After some time, the banging stopped. When Nagina opened the door, no one was there. The entire hall was covered in dust, with old bloodstains everywhere. Susan finally understood. The people she had seen were prisoners of the complex. The horrifying figures were the spirits of those who had been tortured and killed there. She took photographs of the complex and somehow managed to escape. When she looked back, she saw the thin girl once again, who vanished into the air. Nagina returned home that night and began preparing a report against the games. But three questions still haunted her. Who had sent her the email? How had she entered the complex without knowing how? And most importantly, who was that girl? Nagina couldn't stop thinking about her. One day, while going through letters sent by her readers, she found a year-old letter from a man. He wrote that his fiancée, Kim, was missing. He had filed several police reports, but she was never found. The last time they were together, they had visited an island. Kim disappeared there and was never seen again. He begged Susan for help. The letter included a photograph. When Susan saw it, she was shocked. It was the same girl whose spirit she had seen on the island. But how was that possible? The games had supposedly taken place in 1986, almost 30 years ago. How could the girl still be there? Nagaina realized the horror.